let's talk about the safest and happiest countries overseas, because my belief is that you will have a freer, happier, and more financially prosperous life leaving your country and going to somewhere else that has lower taxes, that has nicer people, where you can get a second passport. And yet, a lot of people think that you're going to give up safety and happiness in the process. Today, I'm going to go through the numbers for both. We had someone who's, let's just say they're not a big fan. They said, if all you care about is money, as a number in your bank account, then fine. But imagine being able to walk outside of your home at 4 a.m. and not have to worry about safety. What's that worth? Imagine living in a beautiful, clean city where people are kind to each other. The reality is, I believe you can find that much more overseas than you can find that anywhere in the West. I don't go to the United States anymore, but one thing I hear from my friends who live there is people are at each other's throats. People are talking too much about politics. Tipping culture's out of control. If you don't give someone 30% for throwing a salad through a window, they come after you. Doesn't sound like people are very kind to each other there. And yet I spend time in countries like Colombia and Malaysia and places all in between, and I find some of the most humble, kind people who genuinely care, where service is still a thing, and it's not just about how much money they can extract from you. And in the process, I found places that are both statistically safer and feel safer. And I'll tell you what, myself and a lot of people that I've helped move overseas are a lot happier than they've ever been. My name is Andrew Henderson. I'm the author of this now classic book called Nomad Capitalist. I've been talking about this stuff for over a dozen years. If you want to hear more about safety, please leave a comment, safe country, so I know that you want to hear more about this. We will talk more about what you want to hear about. Let's focus first on the go outside at 4 a.m. standard. What I've noticed about safety is you can be safe pretty much anywhere in the world. Now, there's countries like Venezuela, which in the newest 2025 safety index by country is the least safe country in the world. We have 2 employees who work for Nomad Capitalist who live in Venezuela. They're still here. They're still alive. One of them lives in the capital city of Caracas, and he lives in a nice neighborhood. There are nice neighborhoods. Now, you might need to live in that 1 or 2 nice neighborhoods, and maybe it's a gated community, or maybe there's certain security features that you wouldn't need if you lived in Andorra or Dubai or some of the top places for safety. But you can be safe anywhere. I have a home in Bogota, Colombia. I'm sitting in it right now. I can go outside my neighborhood. Some Colombians might say, from history, don't go out, don't wear your watch, don't walk around at 4 a.m. I don't know if I've been outside at 4 a.m. I mean, things start in Bogota at 5, 6, 7 a.m. It's an early city. But I've certainly been outside at midnight, and I've walked around, and I haven't had any problems. Is it the safest place statistically? No. But, Dubai, you can go pretty much anywhere, and you're going to be safe. Whereas some other places, if you like the place, if you like living in Mexico City, if you like living in Bogota, if you like living in parts of Western Europe, for that matter, parts of the United States, you wouldn't go outside at 4 a.m. If you like living there, you can find that safe neighborhood. Let's go through both the quantitative and the qualitative. One of the things in my series, Live Like a King, that I'm asking women about is, how do you feel? Do you feel safe here? And pretty much everyone we've talked to in these emerging cities has said, yeah, I feel safe. We filmed a new episode of Live Like a King Bogota. We had a guest. She said, yeah, I feel much safer than I used to be. I think it could be better. So that's something to take into account. But from Oman to Malaysia, from Serbia, we're hearing it's pretty safe. There's the data, and then there's the feeling. And so ideally both overlap. So I think it's important to look at safety from both a quantitative and a qualitative perspective. I mean, I'm a big believer in feelings. Do I feel comfortable here? That's not all that matters. But again, according to the Global Peace Index, Ireland ranked in 2024 as the 3rd most peaceful country on earth. Part of the metric that goes into that is safety. And yet, you'll see in a lot of Western media people complaining, oh, look, someone in Dublin 1 was, punching someone in the face, or someone was, there was a fight, or there was a protest, or whatever. And yet you can go a mile away, and it's perfectly safe. And so, if we're not going to believe, hey, Ireland, 3rd most peaceful country in the world because of a few headlines, the reality is in most places, in most situations, and for most people, you're going to avoid any problems that are there. And it's certainly nowhere close to being Venezuela. That said, if we look at the actual crime statistics on a global level, out of 147 countries they tracked, Ireland came in at 83rd, somewhere in the middle. Now, that beat the United States at 89. Who else beat the United States and Ireland and Canada and Australia? Countries like Kazakhstan and India and Moldova and the Philippines, the tax-friendly Philippines, the tax-friendly Panama, Okay, Germany's in there. Jordan has a citizenship by investment program. Serbia and Thailand, 2 countries we talk about. Montenegro, Cyprus, Hungary, Portugal offers a golden visa. Lithuania, citizenship by design. But there's a lot of countries is the bottom line. Number 21, safest country in the world by crime statistics, Georgia, a country I've told you about for some time. And then the top 10, Japan, Singapore, Armenia. We've talked about Hong Kong, Isle of Man, Oman, we filmed, Taiwan, Qatar, UAE, and Andorra. Those are some of the safest places where you can live. And so if you're walking around outside at 4 a.m. and lecturing the rest of us how we left the US or Canada or Australia to go to somewhere like Hong Kong and we can't be safe, then you're statistically mistaken. And I would argue from my own experience, you're anecdotally mistaken. Now, we all get to choose where we want to live. I, for example, would probably get bored pretty easily on the Isle of Man. We filmed Live Like a King in Oman, and what we determined from all of our guests there was probably a better place if you're married with kids. It's not a place if you want to be going out and doing stuff. Probably the same with Qatar. But there's the UAE. Dubai is as happening as anywhere else. And so in this list of some of the safest countries, not only are a lot of countries like Tunisia that are beating yours in all likelihood, but you've got countries where, there's something for everybody, basically. So let's actually break it down into categories so you can figure out what would be the safest place that you want to live. And then once I do that, I'm going to go and figure out which places are the happiest. Let's first talk about the small tax havens that are very safe. They're small places. They often don't even get ranked on some of these because they don't always provide data. This is the Isle of Man, Jersey, Gibraltar, British overseas territories in the Caribbean, like the Caymans and the Turks and Caicos. Those islands in the Caribbean outpace the rest of the Caribbean islands for safety. And then you can see Isle of Man, one of the 10 safest places in the world alongside Jersey, Gibraltar, etc. So those are places where you can go and you can achieve our goal of dramatically reducing, if not eliminating, your taxes in a small tax haven. Small countries or small territories, things are well run. In many of those, you can work towards a second passport, which is a benefit, but you're going to have a very safe life. And if you like a place that's either, a small island of the Caribbean or a small place, in Northern Europe, then that's a good place where you can go and have a nice life and be happy. If you're like me and you prefer Asia, well, one study I recently read shows that Malaysia is now safer than countries like the United States. Singapore came in as the 5th safest country, Malaysia at number 14. There's numerous different indexes. Some track violent crime, some track all crime, some track a number of different factors like the Global Peace Index. You can also go to Central and Eastern Europe. These are more conservative places. And so Poland and Serbia have 1/6 to 1/8 the robberies of a place like the UK, Spain, France, and Belgium. Poland has one of the lowest murder rates, while Serbia has a lower rate of sexual violence. You can also go, people who like to have guns. Serbia is more gun-friendly than most places that are in the European Union, which is next door to Serbia. So what you're seeing is Central Europe, and especially Southeastern Europe, are really standing out with much, 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 much lower rates of crime. The Caucasus we could list separately here. Georgia remains in the top 10 on some indexes, number 21 of the total crime indexes. Again, Georgia's gotten some bad publicity. Oh, they had some protests. Well, still in the top 10 on one study, still 21st on the overall index. Armenia always gets great scores. They're in the top 10 of the total index. And then there's the Middle East. So Qatar, UAE, Oman, all, depending on the index, very highly rated, and by some metrics, number 1, number 3, and number 4. I'm going to come back to the happy part in a minute. What's interesting to me is how many of these safe countries are also tax-friendly. One of the things that we've helped our clients with for years is moving to more tax-friendly countries. If you make 6, 7, 8 figures in a Western country, you're paying a lot, and you realize you don't even get a safe place anymore. You don't even get the political freedom that you're promised. You may not even get the democracy that you were promised. There's a lot of crazy stuff happening in the West, and yet you're paying a fortune for this service that's getting worse and worse and worse. And so if you look at your country like any other competitive product, you realize you've got to start shopping around. We help clients do that. If you go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply, you can learn more about our process for creating a bespoke plan. You don't want to just move from one country where you are now and put all your eggs in one basket. Right? If you choose to move to Poland, you probably don't want to move all your banking there. You probably don't want to move your company to Poland, but you might want to live in Poland, or you might want to live in Oman, or you might want to live in, the Cayman Islands. And you can take advantage of the best that each country has to offer. We help people do that. Go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply. We create holistic plans that are tailored to you. It's one-stop shop for all of your global relocation for yourself, your family, your freedom, your business, your taxes, your asset protection, all under one roof with a network of experts. Now, let's take that list and let's talk about happiness. If you are not from Central or Eastern Europe, you are probably going to find the people there a bit more brusque, more so in Eastern than in Central. But the further east you go in Europe, the more brusque you will find them. I brought some of my team to Colombia for a couple weeks. They come from Georgia, and they were a little taken aback at first how chatty everybody was when they go to order at the cafe or go to order at a restaurant. That's not what they're up to. Now, when you make friends in a place like Eastern Europe, those friends are likely going to be much more serious friends that are going to stick with you. Some of the most supportive people I've met are in Georgia, because once you're in with them, you're in. And so if happiness for you involves having lots of flowy conversations, talking to the woman at Starbucks, and all that kind of stuff, you're going to find a more direct culture in Central and Eastern Europe, and that may not be as happy for you. So certainly I think some people in that part of the world probably aren't as happy as people in the Philippines or in Colombia, for example, but it's just a different perspective. Singapore in Southeast Asia, one of the top-rated places for safety. There's a workaholism culture there. I like people who like to work hard because I've always been a bit of a workaholic. That's probably dragging things down if the goal is just pure happiness. But let's also dispense with this thing that the Danish and the Swiss and the Dutch are the happiest people in the world. I've seen just more purely happy people in Malaysia, in the Philippines, in other parts of Southeast Asia, where maybe that workaholism culture isn't as strong. But people still work hard, but they just focus on happiness. And you can just see it. I mean, I've lived in Malaysia for a long time. People talk about happiness. They talk about just, moving on. They don't, hold grudges the same way. I think it's just a culture in parts of Southeast Asia, and I think parts of South America and Latin America as well, where it's just like, we're going to keep moving. We're going to focus on happiness. I think in the Gulf as well. I mean, people in Oman, some of the most pleasant people, some of the most kind people. I think you ought to optimize not even for happiness, but for kindness. Be the kindest person that you can. Maybe not the nicest person, but be the kindest person, and seek other kind people who have a good outlook. What we're seeing is interesting to me. You find the countries that are safe. A lot of those countries have pretty good tax regimes. And then you can take part of those, and it's actually like really nice people. And it's interesting like how those things all work together. You would think that like you wouldn't get two or three in one place. But it shows to me everything I've been telling you about how the United States and the Western world is heading in the wrong direction. They're heading in the wrong direction on everything. Taxes aren't going to get any lower. People aren't going to get any nicer. People aren't going to get any happier because their money's going down. Like everything's just getting worse. And I don't see any improvement, quite frankly. You can say, hey, our country's the best in the world. It's not the safest. It's not the happiest. It's not the lowest taxed. And so if people want to attack me and my clients for saying we can't go outside at 4 a.m., I go outside in the middle of the night all the time. And outside of one issue on a Sunday evening in Managua, Nicaragua, with a gun in my face in 2014, I've never had a single issue. I've had more issues in the United States than I ever did anywhere else. And I feel most safe outside of the West. I also feel people are the happiest. So let's optimize for those two things. If we can get some tax savings along the way, that's fantastic. What I'm offering you is you can move to a country where your family are going to be safer. You're going to keep a lot more of your money, and you're probably going to end up feeling better about yourself. Seems like a pretty good investment. That's what we help our clients do. Go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply. Learn more about how we help people. If you're new to this and you're not ready for that, come to Nomad Capitalist Live. See Malaysia, where we host the event up close and in person. Meet people who are living this lifestyle. Hear ways you can enjoy more of these benefits. Go to nomadcapitalist.com/live for the event.